Hey, good morning, good day, good night, wherever you are, and welcome to the Sacred Service Podcast. I am Star Shantir. So honored to be here with my co-host, Tyler Tanner. Hey, brother, how are you today?
I am so good.
So,
Um,
so, 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 so. That's a lot of so-sos.
it is. I woke up feeling bright and tight, if you know what I'm saying. Like there were things alchemizing in the dream time,
Oh,
and just
hell yeah. Mm-hmm. Big
woke.
alchemy happening, heading into, and it's always funny to talk about where we are in the planetary alignment because our podcasts go out whenever. But here we are, heading into this new moon energy. It's this harvest moon, new moon in Libra, into the equinox. Finding that balance, y'all. Wow, how are you doing in the balance?
Everything that is being reflected back to me right now is just an ultimate alignment. It feels like.
Oh,
Even with this podcast here today, we are interviewing a very special
oh,
guest, Miss Kannikha from India, who also has a podcast, the Psychedelic Dharma. What's it called?
yeah, that's it. Psychedelic Dharma.
Psychedelic Dharma. I was listening to the episode that you did with her a couple of weeks ago on Instagram Live. I was listening to it this morning, just trying to kind of tap into the vibe.
That was
And
such a cool podcast.
it was. If you guys have not heard it, we'll put a link to it in the
Oh, what a
description
great idea.
so that you can go and you can check her out, check out her channel.
Dude, we traveled the map on that one. We were all over the place. It was she's such a great interviewer. I learned a lot from that aspect from her,
Yeah,
and how she asks such broad but in depth and poignant. It's wild how it's both broad and poignant, her questions. But
yeah.
yeah. I'm so happy we are having her on. You guys, she's a brilliant mind. Just we're stoked to have her. Yeah, you guys are you're in for a treat. So,
And I just wanted to say really quick, the reason why I brought that up is because she is in India right now, on the other side of the world. She's getting ready to go to bed. We're just waking up here in the morning, kind of getting ready
right.
for our day. And here we are headed into the equinox, and we have both of these aspects of this spectrum here, again, reflecting back that we are in balance, we are in alignment. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying?
I have no idea, but yes. Yes to all that.
Also, I guess another thing that has been kind of reflecting this back at me the other day, we were talking about 222. Numbers are really kind of significant for me, and I think I've made them significant for me, and just but like the way that they pop up, I don't know. I'm in a constant dialogue with myself of like, is this my brain creating patterns, or is this universe speaking back to me, or is it both? Like I am, the universe experiencing itself. What's going on? But
Oh. And that's it, right? I mean,
yeah, yes, but the number two has been so significant this last week, and it's very synchronistic and serendipitous, I think, is a good word for that too, on how this is all coming into play. But I wanted to show you, Star, I got a piece of black tourmaline from one of the metaphysical shops in Salt Lake.
woo-wee.
Look at that beauty.
She's gorgeous.
He's gorgeous.
Yeah,
I've had,
yeah, baby.
I've had
I'm such a rock person, but I love me my tourmalines, and I love the heavy stones like the tourmaline, the onyx, the shungite, because they help us to absorb the heavy dense energies. And um I keep this
oh
is a
my God.
shungite merkaba. I keep it really, in my electronical field, because it helps to absorb the EMFs. So, they're very helpful in absorbing and getting the electronic field around you kind of stabilized. And so as I'm, working and doing things in the electronical field, these kinds of stones are really helpful. Yeah.
Is your, because shungite was like the piece that my mind went to first when I was looking for like a super grounding piece just for me and where I am right now. And the shungite that I got, so I got some new stones for my mesa. And for those of you guys that don't know, a mesa is basically a healing bundle with different tools in it to help accomplish certain things or different things depending on the situation. But these were some of the ones that I got, and I'm excited to share these with you. And I guess everyone else gets to see them too now.
Yeah.
But this is a shungite piece that, oh, and it's disappearing. I think it was because it was on my teeth. The shungite piece that I got here, they're all like 1-inch stones. And then I have some, which one was this? I know I have fluorite. And I also have, I think this one is hematite. And then this one, gosh, what was the blue one? It's not lapis. It's
Sodalite? It looks like
sodalite.
sodalite.
Yes. I know you would know. But these were the 4 that I
I'm an
got.
old stoner, y'all. I know my stones. Do you like that little play on words?
Yes. Donor plant mama. But the shungite piece that I got is almost like black chalk. Is your Merkaba that you have, does it come away? Does it leave your fingers black when you are messing with it? No.
No. It's a polished.
Polish.
It's polished.
Okay.
Shungite usually comes kind of polished. Onyx usually, like onyx, it usually comes polished. But it doesn't mean that, it comes raw and polished, which is so cool.
I think I chose the raw too, because on where I ordered them from, you could get either a tumbled set or a raw set. And I was like, nah, give me the raw, nitty gritty, dirty, good stuff. You know what I mean?
You know what's so cool? I want to share with you guys. So I am putting together magical Mexico and magical Montana. And, I usually put together a toolkit, a toolbox for our passengers on the journey. And inside the toolkit, there is usually gifts that will help them on their journey, right? So in the magical Montana, I I put not only the raw stone, but this organite. So it's this beautiful. So let's say if it is tourmaline, then it's going to be the raw tourmaline, and then you'll have an organite that is all these beautiful tourmalines that are put into it's kind of like the Washington Monument, and the obelisk. And they're so bright and shiny and all put together. So it's this contrast of, us in the nitty gritty, raw, our rawest form and our polished form. And so yeah, it's kind of
I
cool
love that.
in that way. Yeah, the contrast of who we are
Yeah.
when we're polished and all put together and, like standing up straight versus we're raw and gritty. And we have to bring those into balance. We have to honor both sides of, who we are in that way, and I think that that's the beauty. I'm so glad that you got the raw and gritty, like who
Oh,
are we at the base
who
of
are
who we
we?
are,
Who the hell am I? Yes, and I love that. What a beautiful expression of like the alchemization and the magic that's taking process on this earth every single day, 'Cause
Right.
I feel like that's what we're all moving towards is, this upgraded, up-leveled, polished version of ourselves. And we're in the tumbling machine right now. We're getting polished, we're getting the scrubby dub.
We're getting pummeled, baby.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Oh, Grace and Ease,
Yes,
cancel,
yes,
clear,
yes.
delete. No, we're not getting pummeled. But doesn't it feel like that sometimes, right? Where we
Yeah.
go back in for more alchemy and more shift and change and upgrade, as you say, and leveling up. Well, yeah, that means that we've got to go in and to kind of get tumbled around a little bit, really look at what's truth, what's really truth at this time for us. And a lot of time, what we thought was truth no longer serves us. And
Mhm.
so, we move forward, we clear up, we clean up, we tighten up, we grow and expand. And yeah, that time of alchemy, is so precious and so very important in that process. And this is why we go to all these all different kinds of different modalities. This is why we turn to our inner work, our shadow work, our plant medicine spirit guides. This is how we turn to meditation to do that inner interior work, so that we are constantly in that. Who can we be the best? What version of the best of ourselves can we be
Oh my
today?
gosh, yes. And also kind of the thought that comes to me when you're talking about that too is it's, you know, when I think about it from the perspective of somebody who isn't, I guess very, I don't want to say very aware of their mind, they live their life every single day, but they're maybe unfamiliar with taking the self-care and doing the meditation. People that aren't very, they don't have a meditation practice. Maybe they are afraid of doing meditation or feel like they're going to do it wrong. That maybe they are hesitant of taking those steps forward to turn inward and say, hey, like what's going on up here. um I think that it is perfectly okay to, when you are stepping into this. I was watching Gaia recently, and the dude that was talking about it, it was talking about developing a practice and having those beginning stages, to give you the opportunity to fumble or figure out what works or what doesn't work, what doesn't serve you, what is going to feel good inside of your body, what is going to help you get into that process of unwinding. Because I started learning about meditation probably when I was like 14, 15. And I feel like it's really been within the last, 5 years, 5-ish years, kind of guesstimating, to where it's developed more from the developing stages of a practice to actually like it becoming a modality for my body to kind of like lean into and let the process just kind of naturally happen. So what I'm trying to say is, it it's okay to feel like maybe you're not going to be doing things right, or like have that hesitant or that anxiety, but taking that first step and just stepping in and saying yes, yes to you, yes to who you are, yes to right now, here in this moment, to connect to your heart. There's no right or wrong way to do that. So
And I think one of the important things about that too, guys, is that, if you're just stepping new onto a practice, and I say this a lot too about yoga, but it can be across the board, whatever it is. If you know in your heart of hearts that this is for you and but something is not quite hitting the mark, try maybe a different teacher. You know, there are different styles and different ways that we resonate with how one teaches. Um, and you might not want to get attached to how things are going to feel and look in your meditation practice, in your yoga practice, in your whatever modality that you're moving through, especially when you're first tiptoeing on. Um, and I think it's important to understand that, especially like in a yoga practice. Or a breath work practice, there's so many different styles of practitioners out there. And I think
mhm.
it's important for you to find what resonates with you, and don't give up. Don't give up on you. Find what works for you. Find the nuances and know that you'll grow and expand not only in your consciousness, but you'll allow your body to become more flexible, your mind to become more flexible, your energy, all things, you know. So
Mhm.
meditation and breath work, I think, you know, in any kind of form of movement is key in any kind of awareness and awakening practices, you know. And I think that you gotta find what works. You
You got
know, I was just speaking with one of our dream team members who is bringing breath work um, to the gathering. And so, you know, we were talking about the different styles of breath work, you know, and I've been seeing this trend of, you know, it's almost Wim Hof-y, you know, like suck it in and let it go, you know, and it's like, whoa, you know, like, what the hell? I am so not that kind of breathwork person, but it doesn't mean that that's wrong, you know, like, and let it go. Like, shit, that scares me. So, so yeah, there's lots of different kinds, and you find what resonates, and maybe that kind of breath work is exactly what you need, you know? So
Mhm.
it's not that any of them are wrong or any of them are right. We just find what resonates with us and
Good.
just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Yeah, no, find what works for you, but totally the breath work is such a powerful modality in aligning and bringing us right into that balance, right? And um, the body movement, any kind of somatic therapy, any kind of way that you can anchor in and move the body so that it gets some more flexibility and gets that immune system pumping and all the things going and the joints flexibility. And, you know, when I was first going through massage therapy training back in the day, they would bring in all kinds of modalities, you know, for us to try and see and, you know, be aware of and things like that. And um, I remember this woman coming in to talk about yoga. And when we came into class, she was sitting on top of the desk and she was in her state of, you know, as we all came in and we're like, oh boy, oh yay, we have a, you know, it's like one of those, yay, we got a substitute, you know. We got a new modality today, you know, and she's gonna be cool. She's just kind of sitting on top of a desk, you know, like. And so when class began, and this woman was 72 years old. And that was one of the very first things that she told us. And she took her leg and she, you know, lifted it way up in the air and she was like doing all this stuff. And my eyes were like, oh my God. And but I'll never forget this, you know, and this is a kind of a lesson and a blessing that we can pass on to you guys too. And it's kind of obvious, but I mean, they're seeing a 72-year-old kicking booty, you know, moving her body in ways that, you know, I, I don't think I could have moved at that time. And, you know, she said, you know, you either move it or you lose it.
Mm. Very
And
true.
I just, man, that anchored in, you know? So we don't want to lose our flexibility. We don't want to lose that balance. And as we're coming into this equinox, you know, we're going to keep driving in that whole balance and how important it is, you know, the balance between the mind, body, and the soul, the mind, body, and your spirit, and how they are not separate. And so we have to keep all of them alive and flexible and going. And so, you know, find the modalities that work for you.
Hmm. Oh my gosh, yes.
Bring it into balance, y'all. Bringing it into balance. It's a good thing. Yeah, so what's the new moon intention, Ty? What you got on your heart for new moon? And we're coming again, new moon
Right.
in most astrology systems, and I recognize that there are other astrology systems that don't follow that. But
Mhm.
for the average bear, I suppose that we're going into that Libra moon.
Libra moon.
Libra moon, which again is the scales bringing things into balance, right?
Yeah, I can't. It's too much. I love it.
It is all aligned for us. Wah.
My God. And I feel like intention is so important because
Oh,
I it keeps the train on the track, you know what I mean? And so I guess what I am, well, not I guess, but what I am working on with my intention going into this equinox is, I'm really in my own life and from my own awareness, I'm seeing this transformation unfold and, you know, really being shown and having these remembrances of the tools that are within my power to weave this golden path before me, you know.
woo! You guys, the golden path, not just any path, right?
Right, 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 right.
Here we are, we're weaving this golden path, and I love that.
Yes, yes. And it makes me think last podcast that we were on together, you had asked me a question about opening up, or you had asked me a question about how I felt working in my current career path as a caregiver, working with the elderly and kind of how that echoes with the work that I'm doing for myself. And I have to just tell you, I wrote some things down. I've been trying to be better about journaling, and I really highly recommend it to everybody that's listening. It's very, very good and juicy and fun and fresh. Um,
It's so juicy. What
um,
I want to know, you guys, you journalers, if you're a journaler, and maybe you can let us know in the comments, do you go back through and read your journal again?
mm,
Or do you just write it because the writing process is important? I'm always so curious about that. Do you go back through and read?
yes, but not very regularly. And I feel like for me, maybe I'm missing an entire component to this, process, this modality, that is complete for it in of itself. I feel like it maybe depends because we're always in this constant ebb and flow. We are expanding and shining, and then we are kind of reflecting and returning to the heart and things like that. So um I feel like there's always a beautiful opportunity to go back to see how far that you've come from. And I have gone back in the past and I have, read some things, and it's very interesting. There's certain themes at different parts of our life. And so I can go back and read and be like, damn, I was working through some shit, like
Right. What I noticed for me is like I had a phase where I would mostly journal when I was working through something. And so all my journals are always filled with this like heavy duty energy that and like I'm not writing when I'm, like feeling all good, and things are in balance and I noticed that there was like 3 or 4 years that my journals were filled with, these deep, deep, deep workings of, working through certain aspects, or when my heart was feeling a little low, or, these kinds of things. And I was working through certain aspects of my life. Um, and I thought that was very interesting to see. Oh, sheesh, I turn to my journal when I'm working through things.
oh my God. Well, I mean, it's direct evidence for you to see that we are in constant evolution. We are in constant change. We are not the same
Oh,
person that we were 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, And so it's a very beautiful reminder to show you just how far you have come, especially on those days in your current everyday today life when you feel, some of those things creep in and it's like, oh my God, am I doing enough? Am I okay right now? Am I where I need to be? And it's like, God, just look at where you've been, and look at how different where everything is right now.
yeah.
Uh, and so with that, I was writing down because it made me think of, I had an experience at work the last time that I was there. I was at a facility that I'd never been at before. And I was working with these people and it was such a busy day. My God. But there were just so many like sacred experiences and sacred spaces that I
Mm.
had with these residents throughout the day. The one that stuck out the most to me was there was this woman and I was helping her get ready for bed and she was in the bathroom doing her thing. And I was just kind of singing to myself, picking up her space. And she like tells me from the bathroom, she was like, "Are you just singing to yourself?" And I was like, yeah, I guess I'm just singing to myself. And she was like, "Well, will you please sing for me?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, okay, all right, okay." And so I kind of felt a little put on the spot, but whenever I'm singing, especially in a workplace, it's always songs that I've sang in ceremony, you know and so I sang to her one of those songs. And
Would you
like,
sing it for us, please?
yes, I will.
Yay.
Okay. Slow down and give your mind a rest. Calm down and do your best. Become one in the eyes of love, seeking God above when it's all inside. It's all inside. I'm higher than the mountain. I'm higher than the mountain. Oh, I'm higher than the mountain. Slow down, down low. You make me high. Oh, and you are wise in my eyes. Come home. And you are wise in my eyes. Come home and surrender now to your heart, to your heart, and burn away all desire. Become one in the eyes of love, seeking God above when it's all inside. It's all inside.
Gracias, mi amor. Oh, bravo.
Thank you, thank you.
Holy moly. Now you guys know why I say Tyler's going up in lights. no, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's one of my favorites that you sing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And so I was singing that song to her, and she was like, "Oh my God." And she was just thanking me, and told me about how her parents were musicians and she grew up in music, and she was
Wow.
a piano player, organ player. And she was just like, wow, like, oh my gosh. And she had told me while I was getting her ready for bed, I was like, do you want to sleep like in your bed? And she was like, no, 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 I sleep on the couch. She was like, I had a really bad nightmare. I had a really terrifying experience, and I don't sleep in the bed anymore. I'm gonna sleep on the couch. And I was like, okay, okay. So I got her set up, got her squared away. And then I left to go to try to catch up on things. I was catching up on things all day, never felt like I was, you know. And so I get a call from her about an hour later. It was like 30 minutes before I was supposed to leave. And she calls me back in, and I go in there and I'm like, what can I help you with? And she goes, will you please sing to me some more? Like, will you please, like, do you have the time? And I was like, oh my God, yes, I have the time. And so I was just there with her. I sang Serenita Bobansana, and I sang some A Joyful Man from Maestra. So such good songs, you guys. Please go look them up and listen to them. They're wonderful. Um, and she was afterwards, she was like, after being in this space with you and hearing you sing, I feel capable of taking on the world. She was like, I'm ready to go into the dream time, and thank you for helping me prepare as I continue on. And it was, I felt like I was in ceremony, singing with her. And it was such a beautiful teacher for me that this life is a ceremony.
That's
And
where I was getting ready to say is that it becomes, we start walking our life in such a sacred way, and that our whole life becomes that ceremony. And so, like, there's a lot of times that people will come to me and say, like, I feel like I'm not giving enough, or that I'm not giving my sacred service, or that I'm not, doing what I'm supposed to be doing, because they feel like they're in a corporate job, or that, they're not doing a job that is directly of service in a spiritual way. And when that is just such a perfect example of how we can show up in our normal capacity, or whatever normal is.
Mhm.
I always use this analogy, you could be selling tomatoes alongside of the road, and the perfect person is going to pull up that needs your sacred service, and that's not going to be selling tomatoes. It's going to be that little heartfelt exchange between the two of
Mhm.
you. And that is where we can really get out and be a part of this world, a part of this evolutionary shift and change in consciousness. It's coming to your daily life in that sacred way, in that way of, how can I show up and be of service? How can I show up and be the best person that I can be today? And this becomes living our life in a sacred way. So it doesn't matter what you're doing to earn your income or whatever, it's how you're showing up that matters, and there may have been a situation, had it not been Tyler, that somebody else call and they go, I got too much to do. What do you mean? I can't sing to you. You know what I mean? But your willingness to, and your understandings and knowings that these songs in general carry a resonance, and that resonance and that frequency was going to help her, transition right into that sweet dream time. And wow, beautiful. Thank you so much, Tyler.
Oh
Thank you
my,
for sharing that, and thank you for being willing to share this song with all of us. And also, thank you for being so kind and sweet and gentle with the elders in your community that you get to work with, and see it as not a pain in the ass to sing to them, but an actual
an
gift to be able to
honor.
do that. Yeah.
Yes, like so grateful to be, that light for somebody, to help them remember their own light, and to, you know, how beautiful to be able to create a space for somebody to feel comfortable enough for their heart to open up, and to see those softer sides of people, and gosh, working in healthcare facilities, skilled nursing, assisted living, rehab, all of that. It's people are in such vulnerable situations, and they give up so much in order to be there, dealing with so many different people on a day-to-day basis that are coming in, supposed to be taking care of them to the highest integrity that they are able to possible. And actually, so it makes me think there was something else that happened on that shift as well, which is not an uncommon occurrence. And I wanted to ask you a question about this, Star, just to maybe get your perspective. But
Okay.
there was another woman that I was working with, and she told me, she said that I reminded her so much of her grandson, who, and so but towards the end of the shift, she looked at me, and we were getting ready to end, and she was like, I love you. She tells me, she is like, I love you because you've been so kind to me today, and remind me so much in so many ways of my grandson. I feel like he's here with me right now, taking care of me. And like I was getting ready to leave my shift, and the dude that was coming on taken, we had this like weird, like looking at each other like, do I know you, do you know me, do I know you, do you know me? It was just weird. And then it's always like a feeling of like deja vu or something like that. And then he comes, like, where I'm getting ready to walk out, and he's like, hey, like, wait, where did you go to school? Like, where did you grow up at? Because he was like, I feel like I know you, and but I kind of felt like I knew him too. And so, for him to be like to acknowledge that on his part as well, and then with the woman telling me that I reminded her of her grandson, that's a fairly common experience in my life. I mean, even with you and you telling me that I remind you of, your nephew. And so I'm just like, is it because it happens, and it makes me kind of go between these two. Is it me? Do I just have like a generic face? Do I just look like every other, like, white guy around or something? And or is it also on the other end, it's like, this is a part of, your path, this is a part of, this awakening of this consciousness, is you are awakening a remembrance in the people around you, and
Exactly.
yeah.
And there are some people that are gifted with the ability to shape shift their energies. Okay. There are some people that that will shape shift or chameleon like and show up as that person that is needed to be in the moment. So, but the reality of what you're saying, I think overall is this, and this is something that is really a big and beautiful thing for anybody who is any kind of facilitator whatsoever, anybody that's in a sacred service whatsoever, is that we have to understand that people are going, well, this is just in life in general, but especially if we are in any kind of service related field, and that is that people are going to project onto us, right? And we are going to be whatever they need in front of them. So when I'm in a ceremony, I have been Medusa, I have been, the mother, I've been the girlfriend, I've been the, the daughter, I've been all the things, right? That people are working through in front of.
Mm.
And oftentimes it can be what that person needs. Who is it that's comforting? That will be projected onto us as well, so if there is a comforting thing, or that woman particularly needing a comfort, then she's going to project the image of the grandson onto you. And rather or not we take on those frequencies is our choice. Is
Mm.
our job to know, first of all, that we're being, projected onto. And do we, I mean, heck, I'll stand at the end of somebody's mat and, being the Grim Reaper if that's what's needed. Yeah, die away, see what needs to come. I mean, like, I'm not saying that I'm going to take on the frequency of Grim Reaper, but that's what's being projected onto me. And yes, I may be standing in that capacity as all the things are dying away in a ceremony that need to, right? So you're giving, this energy out that says, I am open and malleable. I am a chameleon of sorts, that I can be what you need me to be.
Mm.
And so, that can be a really wonderful thing. And it can also be a like, uh-oh, wait a minute, boundary violation. And, like, why am I being so porous? My energy being so porous to this. So it's a beautiful awareness that you have in that. And I think that it is a true gift to be able to shapeshift your energy and be there for people in that capacity as to what they need. But your awareness and knowing that you're doing that is really key.
Because boundaries. Yes, because
Yeah, and I think that it's also like the awareness is like what we were talking about in our Ikaro podcast last, episode 2, and like you become the channel and you are showing up, as the song, but in this case you're showing up however way that person really needs you to show up.
right.
We kind of become transparent.
Becomes the
Tyler, the ego, or Tyler kind of goes away, and what people, and this is so powerful when we start realizing this, especially, as we're going into work situations or even new relationships,
Mhm.
right? That people are going to project onto you what they want you to be. And I'm going to project out what I want you to think I am. It's a mind fuck.
Oh my
Just
gosh.
be real, man. Yeah,
Because we're all projectors, and I feel like even in a facilitator role, and just being mindful of being that channel, being that vessel, we're still kind of in a way projecting, but we're projecting the frequencies of the plants, we're
sure.
projecting the medicine of the songs. And
Right.
so yeah, yeah.
It's exciting. And I'm so excited to have Kannikha come in. We're going to have her in here in just about 3 minutes. And
Okay.
I want to be able to talk with her a little bit about, what she sees as projection, reflection, and the frequency of that based in the science and what she has. She's coming to us as a scientist, she's coming to us as an Ayurvedic practitioner, a wellness person, but also a plethora of knowledge. And she's diving into, you know, becoming that initiative of the plant spirits and carrying. She's working on, getting her initiation to be able to carry the plant medicines, and she certainly had some experience, deep experiences in the plant medicine. So to be able to kind of bring all of this together, and so I'm very, very excited to have her on our podcast today. But before we jump into Kannikha, I would love to kind of pose a question to you guys. And I would love to hear your answers. And we've been doing these podcasts and we've been gearing up, and I know we've only released 2, but in the 2 that you've had, and you've witnessed, what are some of the things that you would like to hear more of, that you
Mm.
would like to see more of? one of the things that my daughter and I were talking about yesterday, Ty, was when we do these interviews, to come up with some sort of a fun way to interact or to um, I don't know, just something that is uniquely Sacred Service podcast that we can, engage them within maybe an activity or something,
Okay.
And so I want you guys' advice, and I want you guys to kind of chime in on that and say, like, what do you think would be a fun activity to do with our guests as they come in? And besides just answer questions, and not that that's wrong because we gain and glean so much information from them in that way, but I don't know, some sort of a game or some sort of thing that we can make them do. My
Yeah.
daughter had me watching the what's it called, hot wings or something like that,
Oh
the
yeah.
YouTubes of
Yeah.
the, yeah, when they're interviewing and eating all the hot wings. Well, I'm not down for that, but it doesn't vibe with us, but you know what I'm saying, you feel me?
100%. Yes,
So we
so
need,
anybody, please let us know. Yeah.
yeah, we need your feedback. What would be a fun way to just take a segment? Like, I'm not saying not be serious in the questions. I'm saying we'll ask our questions and then we'll kind of like, okay, so now we're gonna. So, what
Yes.
what comes to your mind, Ty?
You know, I feel like these types of things and these types of like, I wonder what we can do. A lot of the time, I have a hard time like thinking of it on the spot. I need to like
Process a little
mull
bit.
it over a little bit.
Mhm.
So nothing's coming to my mind directly right now. I kind of keep saying like the chakra system and like um like connecting questions to the chakra system and like the energy centers of the body. I don't know, that's just the first thing that comes to my mind, but I'll definitely mull that over and I'm
One of
sure.
the things that I thought about last night, and I might have I might have been a wee bit in the portal last night. Okay, a lot in the portal last night. Here she comes, yay! But thinking about like, okay, we're gonna go on a journey. Okay, so what is your vehicle of modality? What's your vehicle? Oh, and then, where's your planet? There she is! Yay! Welcome, welcome, welcome. So happy to have you here, my love. Welcome to the Sacred Service Podcast.
Welcome,
Tyler, give
welcome.
her give her an intro. Give her the
Yes,
formal
yes.
intro.
Thank you so much. So much, Kannikha, for being here. I'm Tyler Tanner, the co-host here on the Sacred Service podcast with the one and only Star. Sean's here. I'm very, very happy and grateful that you have decided to join us today. And thank you so much for sending over just a little bit about you. I want to be able to just kind of read what you had said to give the listeners right now kind of a foundation of where you're coming from your own perspective. So, Doctor, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to say that up front. I'm probably gonna mispronounce your last name, and I'm so
Say your last name, Kanaka.
yes.
Kolandaivelu.
Kolandaivelu. Dr.
Perfect.
Kannikha Kolandaivelu is a scientist
Awesome.
by training, an alchemist by realization, who is constantly working on her inner transformation. She is currently planting the seeds to undergo a deep plant medicine apprenticeship in the lush jungles of the Peruvian Amazon to learn from her plant, animal, insect, bird, and human teachers. Part of her path is to serve the community of her home country, India, with the medicine of ayahuasca and other plants as worked with by the Shipibo Konibo tribe. As an avid researcher, she is currently diving deep into understanding the interconnectedness between the yogic sciences of India and the ayahuasca sciences of Peru. With this research, she is aiming to bring in clarity to ayahuasca's role in activating and facilitating the kundalini life force. I'm so excited to get into that. Furthermore, she is laying the foundational stones to her kundalini awakening informed plant medicine preparation, integration, and guidance services, which is based on the extensive research of books, scientific papers written from ancient times till now in diverse fields such as yoga, transpersonal psychology, philosophy, etc., along with her personal experiences. Kannikha came across a multitude of powerful, life-changing teachings, methods, and tools that greatly assist in her evolution during her own personal plant medicine integration journey over the past 3 years. Some of these are empathic painting, freestyle and choreographed dance and movement therapy, human biofield tuning by vocal cords, shamanic practices, gene keys and human design, consciousness, dreaming, etc. During that's all. No, I'm just
No, right? That's what and
during her master's degree in yoga and naturopathy and various initiations with yoga masters during her upbringing in India, she learned the tantras of mudras, mantras, and yantras that helped her ground and fly immensely in her integration process. She will be weaving and utilizing these tools in her services to the human collective as a way of providing holistic and wholesome guidance.
dang, girl, you're such a slacker, you.
Thank you, Tyler and Star. Wow, thank you guys. Thank you for having me here. It's such a pleasure to be here and see your beautiful faces before I go to sleep tonight.
You know, Kannikha, I just really want to thank you for, here we are. We were just talking about the balance, right? We're going into the equinox, you being in India, Tyler and I in the States, and how we're bringing this balance, like you're ready to go to sleep. We're just waking up, like really, this is so, and thank you. Thank you for being willing to come in and, adjust your sleep schedule a little bit for us. Really appreciate you being here. I am so excited to dive in. And, I guess normally we kind of ask this question off air, but I'm going to ask it on air. Are there any no's that you don't want us to dive into? Like, are there any areas that are sort of off limits in our questioning with you today?
No, let's go for it. Let's take the full dive.
All right.
Let's take the full dive. Let's see where it goes.
Let's see where it goes. Sister, I'm so excited to have you here, and to what I really want to dive into is this marrying of these incredibly rich modalities, cultures, ways of being, lifestyles, medicines. I mean, like, wow, what an incredible, deep way of being in your life. And this calling had to have been like so powerful for you. So can you just start with this calling of like the plant medicine's going, yeah, you're gonna do this, and you're gonna bring your Ayurvedic training in and your science in, and oh, by the way, we're adding plant medicines. Can you kind of walk us through this experience for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I'm a scientist by training, right? But I always think of science as philosophy. scientists started out as philosophers. It's because you think about what's going on around you, what's happening around you, within you, in the cosmos, and talking to people and experiencing their perspective, you start thinking, and thinking, I feel like thinking is what brought forth science. So I think everybody is a scientist in that sense, because they're exploring in one way or another. So I'm a scientist by training, but I've always been very interested in, the otherworldly, the occult, the mysterious, the mystical sciences. And growing up in India, I was very fortunate to have a family, my mother and father, who were very devout Hindus, very religious, but they were also very open in me trying to explore the other religions. I grew up in a Christian school, a Roman Catholic school.
Oh, wow.
So I was a convent girl, in the morning, going to church and the Bible and participating in all these, discourses from a Christianity standpoint, and then coming back home with my parents, practicing Hindus and having pujas and ceremonies according to the timings of each day, the stars of each day. The stars have to align for certain things to happen, that knowledge. And then my mother would really let me explore other religions like, Islamism. And my dad, when I was 8, he brought forth books on UFOs and aliens, and kind of gave me the Eric von Daniken Chariots of the God book to read. And you would talk about the Egyptians and sound healing, and it was very, very diverse, and I was very thankful to have that. And my mother put me in a lot of yoga classes, and just going and learning from all these different yogic masters, and that really gave me kind of like a whole rounded perspective, although I didn't understand the depth of it back then. Right now, I can see everything falling into place, but back then I didn't understand why I was really training for all of that. So it really started there, from my childhood. I feel like I've been groomed for this kind of sort of like a transmission or connection to come through. Just kind of fast forward to my teenage years, when I lost my dad. He was one of the kindest person in my life. And, I suffered a lot of physical abuse from my mom, even though she was very pushing for me to achieve things and go beyond my capacities and capabilities. It did put in a lot of traumatic, responses in my body. It did create a lot of trauma in my body. So losing what I thought was one of the most incredible, kindest person took a lot of toll on me, right? So it started there, and then kind of getting raped when I was 17, lost my virginity to a rape. So a lot of sexual trauma, a lot of physical trauma. So my body suppressed the grief and repressed all of those emotions. Fast forward to 10 years later, when I was 30, I lost my mother. And just at the time I had begun mending my relationship with my mother. So in that in-between time space between losing my dad and my mother, I fell into a lot of relationships. I had father issues, daddy issues, just trying to find my father in the other person. I didn't know that's what I was looking for. Now I know that's what I was looking for. And then I just had the biggest breakdown of my entire life 3 years ago, where I literally starved myself to the point of wanting to just kind of wither away and die for 2-3 weeks. No food, very minimal water. But that state felt right. It felt weirdly right, because I felt for the first time, I heard a voice within me telling me whoa, now we can communicate with you. Oh. You reached a point where we can get through to you. And that started this whole, this shebang of explosive voices and synchronicities, and leading me to the jungle and ayahuasca. And I thought I go to the jungle for 3 weeks. and I'm going to come back healed, and I'm going to be massively transformed. It's a new life. Like, yay, I'm excited. It did happen. I had a massive transformation. I had a massive shift in my consciousness, but little did I realize the hard work was after that. So
that's right.
It was enjoyable. It was freeing, but at the same time, it was very dark, very deep, very interesting to watch myself go through this process. And it's been 3 years. I've been integrating and learning and trying to really, find what it is that I'm here to do. I've understood this aspect of me that is multidimensional, that's expansive, that's connected, that's bliss. But how can I focus all of that here? And to the point where I know that there's this egoic side of me, but I also know that I'm here to give a very profound service. And how do I balance that in such a way that I don't let that ego come and, interfere in this world where I'm trying to serve, right? When I'm serving, I don't want chatter in my brain. It needs to come because I'm transmitting energy. So this thing took me 3 years of just constant researching, searching, and I just couldn't pinpoint what was going on with me, what's happening. I think in my podcast with Star, we talked about me being in the void, just being in that space of the womb. It felt like the mother, the cosmic mother Shakti was carrying me. And there were these brief glimpses of Kundalini and yoga, just, these downloads. When you sit with yourself, you get these insights. And there was something that was brewing in my mind, and I could see something happening. But can you guys still hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes. So I could still feel that something was happening, something profound is coming through, but I couldn't just pinpoint anything. And I've been in India since January, and I went through a lot of my old books and notes, and I found some of the notes that I had written when I did my master's in yoga. And there was all these little fireflies just trying to come together to create this big ball of light. And August 30th, something very profound happened. It's the shift in my astrological chart where my North Node was aligning with my birth horoscope. Oh. And I didn't realize it until later, but during those 3 days, I was really, really oozy, just kind of sitting here with mapacho, everything felt oozy. My dreams were very different. There was so much going on, and it just clicked, Kundalini and ayahuasca. Kundalini and ayahuasca. Wow. And then there's this so much of, it's I read everything and I store in different parts of my brain, but everything came together where I'm like, wow. In the Kundalini sciences, it talks about all these different psychic centers. You have to unblock them one by one. And when you open up these centers, these processes come out. And I've observed that when I've taken ayahuasca and in my integration process following ayahuasca. And I've talked to a lot of people who talk about very similar processes. And I was like, whoa, for 3 days, this thing just kept coming and coming and coming. And I went crazy. I went and I picked out a lot of my old books and started, I had a whole spread of books, just looked at things and everything just connected. And I was like, wow, we are not even realizing that we are running around with this awakened life force that is really purifying us from inside. And we are being subject to this purifying fires of our inner transformation. And there is a lot of research that's been done in India from a very, very different point of view. That is very similar to what the Shipibo Konibo talk about in the ayahuasca tradition, but it's also unique in a very different way. And they have recorded these teachings, these transmissions for many, many, many thousands of years. So I can really dive deep into this, and I can find possible tools and possible ways and modalities to help people, and I can marry these. And that's when it became clear to me why I was born in India, why I got the training that I had with my parents, why certain things in my life made perfect sense, why I carry this passion for, you know, both the plant medicine and yoga. I really didn't understand what was happening, but it all just came together. And I would really thank the plants and the divine grace, and, you know, just also myself for stepping into this work and being very diligent and opening myself to this possibility. So that's where it all came through.
This is just so beautiful and fascinating, and I feel like I have so many questions. I'm sure you do too, Ty.
Yeah.
Um, go, Ty. You jump in if you want.
Well, as you're talking, first, thank you, Kannikha, for, leaning into that courage, because, oh my God, I'm sure it takes so much courage to really like step into that, embodied sense of, I'm here to do the damn thing. I'm here to put in work, and just I can just see, how much work you have put in. Oh, Kitty wants to come say hi. Hi, Kitty. Oh, such a sweetie. But as you're talking about growing up with all of these different modalities, I can't even believe growing up in India right there with just being in the heart of one of the oldest religions here on this earth, one of the oldest, ways of thinking since people have been and then the journey of how you have come to ayahuasca, and the understanding that there is a marriage of cultures, there's a marriage of modalities, because I feel like ayahuasca peels back the layers and conditionings of organized religion, in the sense of ayahuasca doesn't take away from any other practice. It doesn't take away from any other a modality or way of thinking. If anything, it enhances it. It enhances that connection that we have developed through different cultures, through all over the world. We have seen so many similarities of the symbolism that pops up across the continent, from the people that have had no interaction with each other, at least that we know of. You know what I mean? And so when I think of like blending the ayahuasca with the yoga practices, we are oh gosh, I was just thinking about this. This was kind of like the thought process that was coming in. But in marrying these practices and connecting into the energetic body, we are realizing that we are so much more than just this physical form. We are our emotional self, our physical self, our spiritual self, our energetic self. What it makes me think of, and what I see the similarity echoed in nature, is the kingdom of fungus. When we are seeing these fruiting bodies, these fruiting specimens, as the final expression of life, from the growing process of this fungus, I really see that echoed in humanity, as being human beings, that there is so much that goes into the makeup of the human experience, and this physical form is one of the final expressions of this life force. And so I really feel that people are awakening up, or are waking up to that understanding, and knowing that there is this interconnectedness of all of these different layers that make up who we are, and we are bringing them into harmony with each other. And so yeah, I want to know what your thoughts are on that, in the sense of marrying this yoga practice, understanding these energy centers in the body, and what ayahuasca has taught you about that.
Yeah, and the thing is, thank you, Tyler, for bringing the word harmony, because that is something that I've been really working on for a few months now. Is just how do I find harmony in the chaos that's going inside? And how do I make my expression harmonious, even though there's a lot going on inside me? But yeah, so the reason in my bio I said the yogic sciences of India is because commonly when we think of yoga, somehow I think a lot of us think it's associated with Hinduism. And it is, and it isn't in a certain way. And in the same way, I've written Ayahuasca Sciences of Peru because in essence, I see it as a science. You know, it is a philosophical, spiritual science, but it's also very materialistic science as well. So yeah, so the yogic sciences of India, it's not just, you know, asanas and pranayama, which is most commonly being spread into the West. But the whole purpose, or the whole, if you want to say, goal or aim of the yogic sciences is to be at one with yourself, to feel that bliss, to feel that interconnectedness, to feel united with you and outside. That is yoga, simple, right? So to reach that level in the ancient days, they had these different stages where you start with the asanas and pranayama and diet to purify your body, to make sure your body is getting ready for the next step, you know. And in a specific terminology, they call this the hatha yoga, which is, you know, just asanas and pranayama, just purifying yourself. And then you move on to the next step where you learn how to control your breath. It goes to a different type of a yogic science where you learn how to move your breath. That's when you learn of the different chakras. So you learn how to control your breath, move your breath, how you can, introduce your breath into your different parts of your body so you can heal your body centers. And then once you know how to control your breath, you then move to the next level of controlling your senses. And, you know, using this control, then they teach you the methods of controlling your consciousness, you know, where you can project your consciousness at will and where you can withdraw your consciousness at will. So it's all about a step-by-step evolution of this human being who knows the power of their own body, knows the power that their soul and their life force and their thought have on each and every single cell of their body. So, you know, this is kind of, this whole yoga falls also under the category of kundalini yoga. So the thing is, this whole process of evolution that I talked about, it involves knowing how to control and manipulate and move the life force, which is the kundalini shakti. So when you go through this process, the yogic masters talk about the purification that you go through, where your ego starts stripping away, where you face egoic deaths, you know, where you are in the void. You know, many of these things which we face during the integration process of plant medicine, you face during this process of yoga. And especially in Kundalini yoga, they talk about this fire that comes in, you know, certain times this ego is so strong that it comes, you know, this fire comes and just consumes it in such a fierce way that it feels like death, pain, destruction. And what is that? That's the goddess Kali. That's the goddess Pratyankara Devi, you know. It's that lion formed goddess that comes and just rips everything apart. Yeah. And there are also softer forms of egoic deaths that they talk about, you know, which are attributed to these different goddess forms. And so all of these have very similar connotations to what we see in the ayahuasca tradition. The thing is, in the ancient texts, they've mapped it out, saying that you have to go from one step to another, to another,
right.
You know, yeah, and kids are being recruited and, you know, groomed from a very young age. But in the ayahuasca tradition, we see that that's not the case. Like Tyler, right now, you said a lot of people are waking up. And when you go to primarily, like, you know, the notion is to heal your trauma using entheogens and these powerful medicines. But what we don't realize and we have to keep in mind is that when we go there, we are involuntarily awakening our life force. You know, the texts in India are for voluntarily awakening your life force. So you're signing up for it. You know what you're going to do. You have guidance. But when you are going into this powerful medicine spaces, working with ayahuasca, you involuntarily invoke all these energies based on the set and the setting of your body. You know, your mindset, your intention, plus what are the blockages you have within your body. And the thing is, when we go inside these spaces, we don't really know how to move and control our breath. So what we end up doing is we just blast open these powerful energy centers. And when we don't know what is happening, when we come back, we really kind of have to, it's kind of like being in a blind cave, just not knowing what to do. And that's when, you know, emergency spiritual technicians like us, like EMTs, right? We are ESTs. We come into play. We go like, hey, we've got a spiritual emergency. Let's go. Let's help you out. Come out of this. So there is definitely a lot of interconnectedness between the ayahuasca sciences and the yogic sciences with respect to dieting, keeping your body clean, preparing your body to your mind, to understanding where your set and setting is at a particular time period when you go into a ceremony. And, you know, even for the next ceremony, I feel like you need to be able to understand what your previous ceremony was showing you, what was helping you in your body. So, you know, for the next ceremony, what you can do with this current situation that you have in your body. So there's just a lot going on when you start marrying these two sciences together. For me, it makes a lot of sense to understand the processes that I personally have gone through, because I went through an involuntary kundalini awakening. And that's what prompted me to kind of find what is going on and try to understand for my own self. Does that answer your question?
So awesome.
It does. And I have another question, if that's okay.
Go for it.
What do you think is the relationship between having a voluntary versus an involuntary awakening? Like if someone is looking to expand their consciousness or kind of evolve on this earth, and they're looking at all of these different modalities, like what is the benefit of having an involuntary kundalini awakening with working with plant medicine ayahuasca versus going through more of like a structured training through the yogic traditions? You know what I mean? Like, what is your take on the differences between the two?
Well, with the voluntary, obviously you're signing up for this thing. You're going into it with
intention,
all of
right?
your eyes wide. Yeah, with your eyes
intention,
wide open.
intention.
Yeah. And the thing is, you have these guides and masters who can guide you, who know from their perspective that this is what is going to happen at this stage. And the thing with this voluntary awakening process that people go through, or have gone through for many millennia, is that it is a very long process. It is a process that could last a lifetime for a person. Sometimes they also say that, you know, in this lifetime, you might not be able to wake your kundalini and bring it all the way up, but you will be planting the seeds for your next incarnation, wherein you will then be able to do it. You know, so some people take many lifetimes to do it. Some people do it in this lifetime. But with the involuntary, I think it's mainly happening right now because there is a much bigger interconnected intelligence. Let's say the intelligence of the earth or Gaia wants people to like, hey, let's go. Let's go. Right? And
I do feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we are all like random, just like happening. And there is a very, very big reason I feel that. I mean, ayahuasca has been studied since the 1950s. Like, you know, people have been going into the Amazon and writing books about it, stories about it. But right now, the reason why I feel it's more prominent in the world is she's really pushing us to be like, hey, I'm sorry, but I have to push you in the fire, man. Like we gotta step it up. Like,
Yeah, you gotta start getting your training, girl. Let's go.
Yes. And I feel like she also, when she's a very different kind of intelligence, she also picks out the leader. She also picks out the pioneers, the visionaries. She's like, I know you guys are going to help the other people that I'm going to push in the fire. So let's go, And the thing is, it's not just the entheogens that awaken our life force. There are near-death experiences. There are people who give birth, awaken this life force. There are people overdosing on these, opiates or heroin or other kinds of non-entheogenic drugs. They also go through it. But the thing is, they don't really understand what is going on with them because the ego death is so massive. The pain that comes from the transformation is so massive. Sometimes it can feel like bipolar, schizophrenic, and you go and get diagnosed for all of these things. And they put you on medication, which suppresses you even more. So,
and then you find out what I was going through a Kundalini awakening. What?
Exactly. And that's what I feel, Tyler, about the voluntary versus involuntary. Is like back then, I feel like the need was not as great. Like they took their own time to kind of, move in, move out, and evolve in the process. But right now, I feel there genuinely is a need. There's an evolution that's happening. There's a push for the next kind of human being that's coming up.
It's true. The elders across, like all over, have been discussing this in all the different prophecies and all the different, ways that it's saying. It's like it's almost like this massive push for our self-realization, a massive push for our awakening. And I don't mean to sound like, oh yes, we are the ones, because there have been, greats that have been walking this path and bringing the form of evolution, Blavatsky and all of these, old school magic beings and all of that they've been walking this earth for a long time, and that these messages, however way, have been coming out for our process of evolution. But you are so right. It has been just a massive push, a massive, massive push. I feel like the spirit of this earth, the consciousness of this earth is saying, we better rise up into our highest consciousness, our highest self right now, in order for us really just to survive. This we need this evolutionary change. We are shifting from a carbon base to a crystalline base. We need to wake up to that, and we need to find however way we can. And I believe that so many of us are having these spontaneous Kundalini risings and callings, hearings, the plant medicines callings, and all of these deep, deep knowings that are wafting in, because we're being called to this deeper way of being in this self-realization, and that we have to, in order for the planet to actually make it through the trajectory. And we know we're shifting our polarity. We know that things are shifting in a physical world, in a conscientious world, and an energetic world. And it's almost this urgency that's saying, are you guys waking the fuck up? Come on, let's go. It's like this urgency. And it's almost my practice on a daily basis to get out of that emergent energy, come home to the balance, say, how can I be in sacred service of the highest good today, and not collude with the chaotic, come on, get on board, let's go, let's go, let's go. Because I can be like that,
Right.
Come on, everybody, get on
Yeah.
the train, let's go. We're going down to Peru, let's go.
Absolutely.
God, I can definitely get on that train and ride that really hard. In the spontaneous awakenings, one of the things that I love what you're talking about as far as the almost like comparison to the Kundalini awakening and the awakening and the self-realization that we have within an ayahuasca experience or a plant medicine experience, an entheogen experience, is that in both cases, and like when you're talking about spontaneous, that means it's not voluntary, but to some degree, is it really not voluntary? I mean, you're not consciously going in and saying, okay, I'm going to have a Kundalini awakening and all my chakras are going to just explode. But in some way, aren't we signing up when we go in
Yes.
to, and we're setting an intention to go to our highest self and really just even setting an intention to go into an ayahuasca experience, we have the awareness that there's going to be shift and change. And if we're fortunate enough to go into a ayahuasca experience with a guide that is going to help us to navigate, okay, so what's the intention and how are we going in and really deeply listening to, okay, so this chakra here is where the trauma is, and let's pull that out. Okay, sexual trauma, rape at 17, sacral chakra. Let me sing the song that needs to happen there. Let me give the kuya that needs to happen there. Let me pull this out. And then all of a sudden, now we got a little bit of flow that the energy can come up. It's not being blocked anymore by that trauma. And so we can start seeing where, no, you're not going to go into an ayahuasca experience and say, oh yes, I'm going to work on my kundalini and I really want this, but really, isn't that what we're saying in the own language that we can? Is that I'd rather it's trauma or, okay, I don't know. I have so many people that will say to me as we're discussing intentions and say, yeah, I don't know, I just really feel like I'm being called. I don't know what it is. And we start diving in a little bit more and we start seeing, so where do you feel like you're stuck in your life? How do you think that this medicine can really serve you? And I'm, as a facilitator, going in and I'm taking my vicious notes and I'm like, okay, so, and then, as I'm like, oh, all right, so we have a block here and this is where she really needs to look at this trauma and this stuff that's maybe in the DNA or, all of the things that have been imprinted on this chakra system. Do you feel like it's necessary to label it?
Label the process, you mean?
Label the process, label the intention. I mean, like so many times I've heard people saying, I go in with this intention, but grandma's going to give you whatever the hell you need, like she's going to look at you and she's going to, pull through and, like pulling out those traumas so that the energy can now be more in harmony and in balance within the physical body, within the energetic body. And, like we might not be able to say, oh yes, that was a spontaneous kundalini rising, but was it really spontaneous because we pulled out that trauma? And that's really what the intention was in going in to the ceremony.
Yeah, that's why I like the word of involuntary kundalini, and the spontaneous, we could say it's spontaneous, if people are in a near-death experience or, they are in something that's outside of entheogenic settings. But I love how you hit the nail on the head with everything. Like, I mean, Star, you and I are on the same wavelength where you said, you know, if we know where the trauma is stuck, that I see you, you know, if we know there's a trauma that's being stuck in certain energy centers, and we have to understand that in this system, there are 76,000 little micro centers that operate together, you know, and
just in our human body, right?
Just in our human body. And out of that, we only know 7 major centers, right? The 7 major centers that are aligned. But there are 46 minor ones that occur in all different parts of your body, 76 minor chakras that all combine and work, you know, and each of them has its role. For example, certain emotions can get stuck in certain chakras in your body, and you know, it could correspond, if you probably do a little bit of a deeper research, it could correspond to the acupuncture points of the Chinese medicine.
What? But yeah, 100%.
I completely agree with you. Yes, this is what excited me about this whole transmission, is that if I know where these energy centers are and what kind of trauma can sit in them and what kind of energy that each of them carries, I can talk with the person or the participant. And it would also help me when they talk about their issues or what they went through or their trauma or what they're carrying. I can even sit in a ceremony and I can see where it's not flowing, where it's flowing.
Exactly.
Like you said, use my sound and, you know, and pull it out, heal it, or like, you know, just open it up, and the life force does the healing for them.
And it goes
exactly. And when you said that, aren't we all signing up for it? Absolutely, yes. Like you said, consciously we are probably not, but unconsciously we are wanting that. We are emanating that frequency through our thought by saying, hey, I want my heart to be fully open. What is that? You are opening your heart chakra completely, you know. And the thing we have to keep in mind with this Kundalini science is that they talk about 3 major knots, you know. They call it the 3 major psychic knots. One of them is called, you know, it's the Rudra Granthi. Granthi is like knot. It's a psychic knot, and that is somewhere in this area. And the knot happens when your life force doesn't flow in the upper 3 chakras.
Upper 3 meaning the stellar, the soul, and or you talking the upper 3 on the physical
not
body?
Above. Yes, in the physical body, the crown, this, and the throat.
Okay.
And then what you have is the Vishnu Granthi, the Vishnu knot, which is the heart and the space around it. Kind of overlaps here and in your Manipura chakra.
Okay.
And then at the bottom you have the Brahma Granthi, which is the creative, the thing. So that knot combines all the entanglement of your trauma and energies from the lower 3 chakras.
Okay.
So those are the 3 main that, you know, you have to keep in mind when you're working with trauma, is what I feel. And based on what the client says, like, hey, I've got sexual trauma, I feel like my identity is blocked, I just don't know who I am, you know where to target. And you also know that those kind of people who need more grounding, they also purge a lot from the down.
Mm-hmm.
They also purge a lot from the down. So if you're looking for openings like in your heart, you'll obviously go with here and here. Those are the kind of people who purge a lot from the up. But sometimes their purge doesn't come from the gut, it just comes from here. Feels like their heart is coming out, and all the bad stuff from the heart is coming out.
All the things that we've been carrying around on our heart chakra, all the hurts and sorrows, and also the way that we have, you know,
the walls
walls we have around our heart, right? You know,
absolutely. And then comes this one, And if you want to release that, most of the time when we purge, we cry, like we have tears, involuntary tears, or we yawn a lot, we sneeze a lot, or, you know, we shake our head and those kinds of things. And the question you asked was, is it important to label these things? I think it depends on what kind of understanding that the participant has on these things. I think we have to meet them at where they are, and, you know, like bring in, like, hey, I know if I talk to you about psychic knots, you're not going to understand, but I'm going to talk to you about heart opening, you know, and talk about just like what's going on with your heart and stuff like that. Exactly. And one of the things that I find very beautiful is, like, one of the examples with these 3 knots that I talked to you about is, in my own experience, I went in asking for a heart opening because I felt my heart very close, very guarded. You know, I was not able to let in love in such a way that I couldn't even love myself. And, you know, with that comes the blockage of the throat as well, because couldn't put boundaries, couldn't stand up for myself, you know, and couldn't speak my truth outside and inside.
Wow.
Right. So it was that kind of a stage. And like you said, you may not want a Kundalini awakening, because the word Kundalini is very scary sometimes with the reputation it has from various different, you know, people or groups or whatever it is outside of the space. But I went in, I asked for a heart opening, and I got it. Yay. But it was so massive that I didn't know how to integrate all that love for myself in such a way that I was projecting it. Like, just, I found these objects of affection, and there would be this baseless, irrational love projection on this person, you know,
or object or thing, or, you know, exactly. New car, or, you know.
Exactly. In my case, I as soon as my heart was open and I was coming down from my Mariación, the high, and immediately I was giggling because I thought I was in deep love with the facilitator.
Oh, see, this is a big one. Let's go. How did that happen?
Thing he said, I was giggling. I felt like he was the most adorable thing in the entire universe. And, you know, I was like, oh my God, I think I'm in love with this guy. And I just like hid my face under a pillow. I was behaving like a teenager. You know what I mean? And then something within me said, just go to sleep, wake up tomorrow, see how you feel. I woke up and I looked at him and I was like, what was I even thinking? You know, no offense against him.
No,
totally. Realization.
And you're one of the lucky ones who can wake up the next day with a sense of clarity. And this is something that I think is really such a powerful conversation, Kannikha, because, you know, oftentimes what's happening, and I think that, you know, you kind of touched on that a lot of people don't want to talk about Kundalini awakening because there is an association with sexuality, but it's your life force energy. If you put that life force energy into procreation and, you know, go back into the limbic system or the reptilian system, then it's going to be all about, you know, let me just fuck my brains out and procreate, you know. But if we're moving in a higher consciousness, then we are embodying a state of love. We become the channel of love. And if we're not really recognizing that we're becoming that channel of love, that we've embodied love, and we start projecting it all out there, oh my God, I'm in love with that one. Oh my God, I'm in love with this one and that one. And, you know, we have to. And how many times in a ceremony, and I've said this not from an egoic stance, and trust me, I'm not saying this from an egoic stance. I'm saying this from the stance of what I've seen as a facilitator and what is projected onto me. And that is how many times people fall in love with me, right? Because they've embodied their own sense of their own love and what love is as an embodied state of being. And because we're coming from an old paradigm that says, oh, we need to make this boy girl, or oh, we need to make this one way or another, or that I have to see this as, oh, you're my partner or whatever, instead of like, oh my God, everything is love, like, see this, this is who we are. And yes, I see the love in you, and I feel the love in me, and all of that. And so it is a huge piece, and we see it projection of, like we hold a tight and right container, and part of that tight and right container of safety is that, no, we're going to hold our space. And if you feel like you have fallen in love with another participant, guess what? That love will still be there after your integration process. But right now, we're just not even going to go there. We're just letting you integrate and really feel what that embodied presence of love is. And to me, that is what the Kundalini awakening is, when we are in harmony, and when we are in that space of divinity and knowing that we are one in our love and our life, and there is no separation, there is no us or them. And so yes, of course we're going to want to project, oh my God, I love you, you're amazing. So
absolutely,
I'm so glad that you brought that up, and that you had the clarity in the next day to own what is actually your embodied sense of your own, letting that rise, letting that energy rise, and letting that whole beauty within yourself explode and be.
Yeah, and that's where I love that you brought this sort of like a common conception or perception in people's mind that Kundalini yoga and sexuality, like it's the same like when people think of Tantra.
Exactly.
Tantra is thought of more as sex.
Tantra,
right?
Like
that's a completely different topic altogether. But in Kundalini yoga, people think it's sexuality. It is, and it isn't. That whole orgasmic life force that you feel is actually your beautiful creative life force that just wants to express through you in how many ever ways you want to express, through singing, through dancing, through writing, or you want to make love, whatever it is. But it is sacred, and it's not just Kundalini is not just a sexual life force. Right. The thing is, it is the highermost unity consciousness frequency that in our human body, we can only feel it as that orgasmic life force. And the thing is, we don't know how to contain it and use it in this body because we've not been taught about this a lot. That
it's kind of a taboo, right?
Right.
To say, hey, I'm living an orgasmic life.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, a lot of people think that like they experience that life force only through that orgasmic pleasure, because that's how we can hold it in that body. Like if we are 24/7 in an orgasm, I don't think we can contain it in our body. Like we'd be crazy, right?
Well, and that just really brings to the table, and I think that we really have to have this conversation, and that is, this is your life force energy. Okay, so let's take it to the sexual energy, and you are giving your life force energy, rather you're masculine or feminine. Okay, you are receiving as female the life force energy, but you're also giving your life force energy in this act. It is sacred. It is sacred. And so therefore, being mindful of this life force energy, who, where, right? With porn being like the big, massive issue on the table for so many, especially the men. And I really, I don't mean to say that women don't watch porn, but men, there's just droves and droves of men who are coming together in groups that are saying, Oh, we're taking our life force energy back. We are not going to train ourselves into this knowing. And why has it been such a driven and pushed on men that this is where we, we go to porn and we boink off, or whatever. You're giving your life force energy to that, like
Yeah.
wake the fuck up, And why?
Yeah.
Why is there such a drive for men to give their life force energy, their everything that you are in your life force over to porn? Why is there such a big drive for that? Why is there such a big, I see Tyler going.
Well, I think
you're in Utah, and it's huge there.
Oh my gosh, yes. There is a very large like production industry side of porn here, which I wasn't aware of until a couple of years ago. But I see it from so many different perspectives that people have, where understanding the sacredness of this divine creation, sexual life force, or this like kundalini, just ultimate life force that we have within us, and operating in a sacred manner in order to honor it and contain it and to keep your vessel clean. And then on the other end, you have people who are like, we are sexual beings here on this earth, and we have been ingrained, at least in Western culture and Western society, that, sex is like a taboo, like the sexual education in our school system is just very much, not from a place of empowerment or from a place of understanding the sacredness of it. It's, don't buy a condom, kids, because you will have sex and you will die. You know what I mean? And so it's like we grow up with all of this shame around sex, that when people kind of grow into their adulthood, into their sexuality, they're like, like, fuck it. Sorry, that was a bad pun. But, it's like it's like this, we are sexual beings. It's okay to have sex, even in a casual sort of a sense. It's okay to express that, on the same sense, it's okay to watch porn. It is okay to make porn, to really dive into that. But what I think we have created from this situation is, because it is such a taboo subject in society, it's kind of like it makes it toxic. It makes it this thing that, where there's so much harm that can and does come from the porn industry, or from even a consumer of pornography, and if that's where you're attaching your sexual awareness, if that is what you will teach as the trigger in order to turn on that part of yourself, you know what I mean? And then people experience it taking away from their relationships, because they feel like they have to hide the fact that they watch porn or something like that. You know what I mean? And so
it's deep rooted, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's just such like, I really feel that understanding the Kundalini life force within us as the prime ultimate, life force energy that is both sexual and not sexual. It's an expression of life itself. I feel like, because of the collective trauma around sex, that having and using these tools and these practices that we're using to better our lives in general can also be used in order to create a sacred sexual practice, and honoring your divine sensual and sexuality. And so like, it's like, porn is here on this earth. We have technology, we are sexual beings. Like, my dad used to always joke around and like say this thing when I was a kid. He was like, the internet is for porn, because I found like some of his magazines or something like in his room one time. And so
that's what he thought that the internet was for.
Yeah. But it's like, we are innately sexual beings. We are very voyeuristic beings. We like watching other people, like we enjoy being watched. And so it's like, I feel the perspective that, you have when you're approaching these topics is so important. And oh my God. And then it ties back to intention. What is your intention going?
Wrap it around. Come on, Ty. We can do it.
And it comes
It's so
back to your
true.
intention of how are you choosing to give this energy? How are you choosing to receive this energy? And understanding that there are consequences for our actions and being prepared to deal with those as they arise. And what is this showing me? What is this teaching me? Yes, so I completely understand in the entheogen side when it comes to ceremonial use of plant medicine and abstaining from sex, because of the vulnerability and the just complete expansiveness that comes from being in a ceremonial space, like that container needs to be kept right and tight, and you need to be able to keep your energy because this is your journey, this is your process, this is for your understanding, for your awareness. And on the other end, in my own life, when I have had experiences with other psychedelics such as like LSD and things like that, outside of a ceremonial setting with my partners, and going into a sexual environment under the influence of a substance like LSD is honestly one of the most powerful, completely just mind-blowing experiences I have ever had on this earth. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Like, souls completely melting into one another and becoming, this ultimate oneness. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God. So I feel like it's such a tricky trail to tread, but I feel like in the correct environment with you know with an honorable intention of what is
Intention, right?
Yeah.
Intention is
there are safe and ethical ways to explore all of those different sides of ourselves.
I
So
had a
Absolutely.
kundalini experience in Dieta with Noyarao. Noyarao, this beautiful bioluminescent tree. I'm in a 4-week Dieta with her. She's kicking my booty all over this 4 weeks. I mean, like, she's stern mama. She's in like all kind of, places, getting me in a space in alignment to be able to be this facilitator. And then I'm doing this breath work. I'm doing this breath work, and during the breath work, the facilitator says, and Noerao is here and she has a gift for you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's here. And she's holding this sword that is like this, well, it looks like this. It looks like exactly like this. It's sort of like, luminescent. It's an opalite is what this is. And so she's got this sword and she's holding it. And I'm like, oh, wow, Noira, that's so cool. What are we going to do with this? Like, this is my gift. What do I do with this? And she took that sword and she rammed it straight up through my vagina, up through my spinal cord, and all through my body. And that sword of light came through me, and I had the most, and I'm feeling like I'm shaking, and I'm like orgasm, and I'm like, I'm feeling some type of way, I'm not supposed to be feeling this, right? Like, oh no, and guilt coming in, and shame coming in, and like, I am having full blown, the best mind blowing orgasm that I have ever had in my life. And it was beyond sexual, but it was also very sexual. And I'm like, all these things happening, and this must have gone on for like 15-20 minutes. I mean, the facilitator's over and they're like, you okay, Star? I'm like, yeah. Just, can I have a moment?
Yeah.
Somebody get me a mapacha, right? Yes, I need a smoke after that. But yeah, that was like this full on kundalini. And yes, there was a part of me that could put a sexual label on that, but it was so much more than that. And it was
Yes.
so bigger than that. And it wasn't the ultimate connection, and like how you were saying, Tyler, souls melting together. I'm not only melted together with Noya Rao, but the entire universe, and this understanding that, every time I'm giving birth in some way, that we are all giving birth in some way, and, this magic that came through. So yeah, that was, I don't know that I've actually shared that very, it was a big one. It was a big moment, and
Yeah.
it was powerful. Yeah.
Well, I'm
Noya Rao.
very
Now
glad.
you've dieted with Noya Rao. Yeah. What was your
Yes, I
experience
have
like
her
with Noya Rao?
here.
Oh, there she is.
Uh,
Yay.
Man, so I'm very glad that you brought up this orgasm and this, this light rod going through you, and that, because that is something that I experienced as well in many different ceremonies.
Yeah.
But one, during my first retreat, like a healing retreat, I went to Ayahuasca Foundation, and during one of my ceremonies, I had this thing where I was just shaking really, really, really bad, and then this thing starts stirring in my vagina, and it just started like this hum, this buzz, and like started growing, pulse, and this was when I was wanting the heart opening also, right? So pulse and pulse and pulse, and it was so like it wanted to release, and I knew that I cannot do that in this
Right? I'm
setting,
a dieta. I can't.
right? And I had my hand over my vagina as if closing it is going to stop that. But it was just coursing through me, right? Like buzz, and my whole body was vibrating and shaking. And somehow, again, intention. I was like, no, I don't want this. I'm doing something wrong. No, 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 no. And then it just kind of subsided by itself, right? I kind of put an end to that thing. And then the next day, I was discussing this with one of the facilitators. And one of the advice, which I think is very bad that they gave me, is you could have just touched yourself at that time and released it. And then that would have helped you remove that particular blockage. And it would have provided you like a more bigger journey or a healing or whatever. It just didn't sit right with me, right? Like you are telling me to not indulge with this explosion.
We've been through this,
then, right?
forget we're on dieta.
And then you're telling me that I'm not supposed to, like do this, but you're telling me to. It was very contradictory. And then
yeah, agreed.
It was very, I think it was a wrong advice they shouldn't have given. And the thing is, I can understand why all these sexual things kind of happen in that space, because it's so powerful, energetically, it's very powerful. People don't know what it is and how they should be handling it.
Right.
And then I went on this Noya Rao dieta, and Star, similar to you, I had this like Noya Rao woman. She came in front of me. It was a beautiful beach setting, and there was this town where nobody was there, but like, I'm traversing through that town, and I reach a point and I'm sitting and I'm looking like this. And this lady, beautiful lady, is growing out of these pink butterflies, right? She's just growing out of these pink butterflies. And I'm like, oh, whoa, like that. And then she just looks at me and she performs this dance. And then like a focused attack, after she performs this dance, all these butterflies come into a full focus and they go straight into my lower chakra. As soon as she went in, I felt I actually levitated, and I went like, full shake, and I shook. And like you said, this orgasmic feeling, this just pulse. And I realized like, whoa, what I think of orgasm is not really orgasmic release. It is a way of existing within yourself that is so creative, that is so evolved, that is so beautiful. When you express it, it just brings out some of the most magnificent creations. And that's the understanding I got. And I understood why throughout my life, every time I feel excited about a project or a creation, I felt the urge to
Get the
orgasm down
butterflies.
there. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And I was like, and then ever since then, I've observed in a very subtle way that every time I want to do something, I want to paint, I want to create, I want to speak, I want to sing, I feel that there. I feel
Right.
that pulse, that hum. And now I understand, like, I just don't want to go and have sex. I just want
to create. Yes. It's time
And the
to
thing that
create.
comes out is massive. It's powerful.
Yes, 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 yes. This is our life force energy wanting to create and creating, what? A frequency, a vibration, a painting, a way of life, how we are exchanging and interchanging with one another. This is all our creation. And can we do it from that place of the butterflies? Can we do it from that place of authentic, clear, no trauma, no drama? Can we, be in that space? And that's a powerful space. So on that note, I feel like we really need to just one more thing in this sensuality, sexuality, creation, kundalini, tantra, all of these yummy, delicious words that are coming through. For those of us who would choose a celibate life, there are some of us still on the planet. I'm one of them, choosing a celibate life. So what do we do with that energy, so that it doesn't stagnate? We got to keep that fire going, and we got to keep that, stoking up. And so what I have learned is a sublimation in the breath work, where I'm actually bringing up, and this is actually where love bombs that we do in ceremony originated. So pulling that energy up, stoking the fire in the breath work into that sacral chakra, and bringing the energy up after you stoke it, bringing it up to your heart, taking a breath, taking it, all that energy up, out through your crown, kissing it up to the divine, and then breathing it back into your heart and sublimating it. So we're taking all of that beautiful energy that is maybe like building up, building up, because why? We're not really releasing, or there's only but so many creative projects we can do and so much space. So, for me, it's a daily practice, if not a few times a day, of stoking that energy, really feeling that sacral energy, that sensuality, that sexuality, that gift of life, that life force energy, pulling it up, taking a breath in the heart, sending it out, breathing it back into the heart. And after about 3 rounds, and this is one of the things that we do in ceremony when we feel like we want to support another being, and what we don't want to do is interfere with their process on the mat. We're not going to go over and go, are you okay? But with consent, we can send love bombs. So after 3 rounds, and we're fully grounded and fully clear of all this energy in our heart, then after the 3rd round, we can send it out to whoever we feel like, in our ceremony is like, oh, they might need some love bombs, But this is a beautiful way to keep the energy in the heart, to keep the energy flowing, and and it's okay to take a break and to actually say, I'm taking this time to be celibate. I'm taking this time to really get my own energy into balance, and wow. I can't even believe all of the territories we've covered today.
Star, just before we leave, there's one thing on my mind. I just want to.
I knew it. I was going to ask you, what's on your heart
back on and come. Right. Yeah. So when we talked about, a few, I don't know, maybe a few minutes back, we talked about, the participants going into the ceremony with an intention. And then truly, this concept of surrendering to the medicine and saying that the medicine will give you what you think, what the medicine thinks you need. I feel like there is a yes and a no to that as well.
Absolutely.
Like, you can passively surrender and kind of learn and let the medicine open you up and kind of jump into that. But there's also this active surrender where you go in and surrender to the medicine, to not let your mind and ego play into the traps that it can take you in, but then also understand that you also have the power. You are a co-creator of this experience.
Focused intention.
And you focus, and you can use your breath to move stuff. You can tell ayahuasca where to go, where not to go. Be like, hey, I don't want to go here. Can we please focus on this? And the thing is, we have to understand that ayahuasca is not a punisher or like this evil mother. She's not constrained by duality, so she flows with you. She flows where you want to flow. She's a helper. She understands, she listens. So I think I believe that there's such a thing as active and passive surrender, and you can always choose where to go and where not to go. And I think these are all the topics that we have to talk about and educate the people who are coming into the space to know that they have the power. Yes. And they can use these many different modalities to control their breath and movement and, life force. And should they choose to be celibate, they can still work with their life force and express and create and still make it a very sexual thing, but that sexual creation is going to be a painting or maybe a dance movement that you did, and things like that. And I think educating them about, when you open up your heart, you might feel unnecessary projections on the other person. Please don't go and do some kind of rash decisions and kind of screw up with your healing or something. Just understand that this is a normal part of the process. And I think it's very important that the topics that we're talking should definitely be talked and explored in a very open group setting, so people can understand that this is normal. This right. is the sexual life force is a normal thing, and don't just see it as a sexual life force. It is just a life force which we experience in a very pleasurable way in our body.
Right. And I think that sometimes, first of all, what I want to say is thank you for bringing that in. And a lot of times we work through that in our integration process. Okay, so we may have gone in with this intention, but the medicine took me down and took me on a ride. So, and now here we are in integration. How did that come together for us? And what was she showing me? And how does it relate to the intention? And I believe that this is really an important part of the integration process, is to, kind of bring all of that together and look at all of that and how did it flow together and what was really the message there. And I think it's really important. And this is one of the things that my mentor, Enrique, would say over and over and over and over and over again to me. And this is focus. Focus. This is your experience. Remember your intention. Yeah, you can go on off into the sacred geometry and all of the cool things, and you can be taken on that cool ride, but remember, come back to your focus intention. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Focus. Yep. Focus. And I always loved that he always empowered us, and still, he still does. I still go back. It's not like he's gone. But that he was always empowering, and that this is your journey.
Yeah.
This is your journey. So you have your intention, and you are the master of your life. And this to me is so empowering, especially when you have such a masterful spirit that you are collaborating with. And it truly is a collaboration when you're imbibing these plant medicines, and that, it's like, okay, there is, like you say, that certain amount of surrender, because that is your collaborative part.
Yeah.
Right? But there is always that moment where, you know, gravity takes place and you're like, okay, I can't sit up as much as I want to sit up. Oh, gravity's got me, I'm going down, you know, and all of the things that go on in an experience happen. There's always a point within your ceremony that you can call back in and go, okay, let me remember my intentions. Let me call focus to this. And, you know, this is where we want to go. And so I love that very much, in that it is this balance of surrender and focus, and surrender and focus.
Yeah.
And, you know, this
Yeah.
constant.
Yeah, it's almost as if, like, you know, you are playing with your masculine and feminine aspects. You are shape-shifting, you are moving with that.
100%.
And, you know, and it's Don Enrique and Don Rono are brothers. So I train under Don Rono, and Don Rono always says the same thing. If you are sitting and doing dietas as a part of being a curandera or curandero, you want to become maestra, you have to understand that two things: concentration and imagination.
Mm-hmm.
It will take you everywhere. Concentration and imagination. And I've been having that as my mantra for a long time. And then recently I added these two: concentration, imagination, active participation, and awareness.
Yes.
Conscious awareness and active participation. Because you know, yeah, because I've done both. Like, I've just laid down with my blanket and just kind of hope that ayahuasca would heal me, and I just lay down and sleep or whatever.
Hope that I'm going to make it through.
Hope that I'm going to make it through. But I've also been in a situation, you know, during my dietas where I'm like, this is my training. I really need to focus, and I really need to know where I can direct my journey. It's the same way I see the similarity as sleeping and just dreaming versus going to sleep with a transition from this waking world to another world and consciously dreaming. You know, in dreaming, you can manifest anything. You can manifest your healing. You can travel anywhere. So I feel like it's very similar in that sense, like traversing that world of ayahuasca.
It's so true. And I have seen too, in situations where the medicine, she will just take the person down and almost even offline while she's working on the physical aspect. And I always think that's very interesting too. And as a facilitator, I have this want that I want to go over and go, wake the fuck up. You know, and she'll go, hey, I'm working over here, you know, like, okay, all right, do your thing, you know.
Yeah.
How can I assist? But yeah, it's a very interesting thing in how, as facilitator, that focused intention, that awareness, all of that has to be. And I love the imagination, the opening up, and to be able to see into the realms, and all of that is, it's such a truth. It has been so delightful to have you on our program today. I am so happy. Is there any piece of advice that you, or anything that you really want to say that you feel like is important to make sure that our listeners understand, either about you or the medicine? Is there some little tip that you might want to share before we head out?
Yeah, I think that for me personally, what worked in my integration process, you know, because I offer my thoughts, my perceptions based on my experience. If it doesn't work for me, I will tell you it didn't work for me. But the things that work for me is that, you know, sometimes you have to understand, or not sometimes, but I think everybody should keep in mind that we are all interconnected. And, you know, this concept of microcosm and macrocosm, we reflect what's outside, the outside reflects us. We work in rhythm with the cycles work in rhythm with us. Keeping that in mind, I would encourage everyone to keep a very open mind on the many different modalities that are available, and kind of flow with it and experiment and find what works and find what doesn't work. And in the end, you will understand that so many of them are interconnected, and they will give you a much bigger picture of where you want to go. Like when it gives you guidance, it's not going to put you in a niche. It is going to open you up to the biggest possibility of who you are. It might look like, in the same way, like it might look like science and spirituality are totally different, but it's actually, when you combine it together, it brings a beautiful picture that gives you a zoomed up view. So in my perception, I found that working with astrology and kind of looking at my birth chart and mapping out the cycles of my life and the important events, and also looking at scientific papers, and then trying to understand the world of ayahuasca and spirituality through that lens. And then, trying to understand my blueprint and using dance therapy, using sounds like light language, which as a scientist, to me, sometimes it feels irrational, but I know it's not, right? So just kind of be open to experimenting everything, even though some of the things might feel silly. The reason why it feels silly is because we still hold programming against it. There's something that's at odds. So I feel like if we expand and open our mind a bit, our being just opens up. Like we become that multifaceted being that we truly are meant to be. And the other thing is, like, there's a lot of emphasis that's being placed right now on voicing our truth, like speaking our truth, listening to our truth. But we have to understand that speaking our truth not just means speaking outside. Speaking our truth also means speaking inside. And listening to our truth means that there will be two voices that seems like it's together inside our body, which there's the egoic voice and there's the spirit voice or the higher self or whatever, that always seems like it's together. But once you learn to distinguish it, you will always see that your spirit voice will only tell you things from a place of love. And keep your anchor on that.
Oh.
Let the ego chatter. Keep your anchor. When your spirit says, you are amazing, you will be okay, you have to trust that, because that is the truth. Because ego will come and tell you, oh my God, if you talk about this, people are going to kill you. Oh my God, you are ugly today, or oh God, you are a fraud, you don't belong here, or something like that. Acknowledge it, but don't indulge in it. Anchor yourself always. Listen to the truth that your spirit tells you, which always tell you that you're okay. It will never tell you you're not okay. So, keeping a broad perspective and at the same time anchoring yourself in your truth. And it's beautiful to fly high with all these teachings and, understanding about this different life force coming up. But ultimately, we have to bring that life force down and ground it on earth. That is why we're here.
That's it. That's the magic.
Yeah. Focus on the roots, because the root system of any tree is 3 times longer than the trunk and the leaf and the branches, so you need a 3 times deep root foundation to support your growth. So it's okay to start small. It's okay if you feel like you're not growing, but you need your roots deep.
Get your real self rooted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that before Kannikha came on, of just, start somewhere and, feel comfortable being uncomfortable, in the sense that there's going to be a fumbling, there's going to be a learning curve in this process of developing a practice for yourself. And so trust in that process and give yourself the benefit of the doubt to make mistakes. Thank you so much for sharing that, Kannikha. That just kind of wrapped around everything that we've been talking about even before you joined on with us today. Thank you.
Yeah, and each of us are born with a very, very unique blueprint, and the more we step into that and honor that, we will find that we have everything we need to accomplish our mission on earth. So yeah, once you get to know yourself, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to know yourself.
It is beautiful to know ourselves. It's beautiful to share ourselves and our truth. And it's beautiful that, you know, each of us come with our own special blueprint, our own special light. And I'm just so grateful for your blueprint and your light and your sharing in this way. And I feel like we've just touched the surface. I mean, like, we didn't even get into gene keys. We didn't get into, and it's like there's so much that we can share. Maybe we'll have you back on again and, you know, take
Yeah.
another deep dive in. But in this round, I feel like we are complete, and I am so grateful for you coming in. And I know that it's getting late for you, and much love in your equinox, in your balance, in this new moon energy. May all things give rise to you, and you know that your ripple effect just keeps on rippling out and touching lives in such deep ways, and just really honoring you and all that you are, and offering you so much blessings.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Star, for having me and giving me the opportunity to express my voice. And this is a time for me where I'm really comfortable with myself, and it's such a great opportunity to see how I relate as well. With experts in the field like both of you guys. So I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity. And Tyler, it's such a pleasure talking to you, and I really hope we talk again, and maybe we sit around in a bonfire and keep chatting through the night.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. I'll come to India.
Yes.
I've never been. It's always been calling.
She's a transformative fire for sure. You
Oh,
will
I'm
leave
sure.
completely transformed. It's an old country with a lot of amazing human beings with their auras, just walked everywhere, and it's got that power and energy of all those incredible human beings, and we definitely feel it. A lot of the temples around are constantly, there's a lot of devotion in the air. So you feel transformed. It's a beautiful country to come to if you are looking for further transformation. And
Just want to
once
sit
you
by
feel
the
like,
fire with you, girl.
yeah, once you feel like India is calling you, it means she's already connecting with you, wanting you here. See something, learn
I have
something,
felt
and teach her
India.
something too.
I have felt India in my bones, all my life. I have always resonated with the energies, even though I've never been there. I have, yeah, the teachings, the history, the scarcity, all of it.
Yeah,
The abundance
lot
and
of
the scarcity, all in the same
magnificent.
sentence.
Lot of magnificent temples, when like thousands of years old, when you go sit and just like meditate, they're all made up of just massive stone monuments built with precision, just constructed to attract these cosmic rays and emanate it to the people who are inside. So when you sit and meditate, like especially after my ayahuasca journey, whenever I go in a temple, I just sit for like 1 hour, 2 hours, and I feel like it's just a couple of minutes. So
Wow,
I'm
yeah.
sure if you go around, you're going to enjoy so much. And if I'm here in India, I would definitely love to host you guys and take you around and
Oh
show
my
you.
goodness.
But
Yes,
I'm due to
please.
come back to the US.
When are you coming back to the US?
I'll be back in November. I'm just kind of wrapping things here. I'm just seeding a few projects, trying to open up a retreat center here. So just really working hard on that.
Bless.
Um,
Oh, well, all
yeah.
the best
So
to you and your retreat center there. And when you come to the US, where will you be?
I'll be in Virginia Beach. Yeah, with my
What?
husband. Yeah, because we've been living a camper life for like 2 years. So our camper is in North Carolina in storage right now. So we'll have to get that. His family's in Virginia Beach, so we'll be going to meet them. And then probably we'll head down to Florida for 4 months, maybe to like Camp Coast and escape the winter before I fly out to Peru in April.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So beautiful. Yay. I'm so excited for you. Well, blessings and blessings, Tyler. Thank you,
Blessings.
thank you, thank you. I
Thank
love
you,
you, my
Tyler.
love. I'm
Thank
so
you.
grateful for you, and we'll see you next time, next week, next time, next space. And I'm so grateful for everyone who's made it this far in the journey. Thank you. I know this has been a long one, and I really love you all for tuning in and turning on. And thank you, thank you, thank you. So much love.
you.
Mm.
Please like,
Blessings.
please
Thank
comment,
you.
please subscribe and share, and tell us your thoughts below on all of these yummy, juicy topics. Let's keep the discussion going. Much love.
Much love. Bless, bless.